Hello people, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. How are you guys doing? Whatever time in your place of the world, I hope you're doing good. And sorry about the long intro. I was taking a bit of prep, making a bit of coffee, you know, the usual stuff. And I figured I'd just go ahead and warm up and take it easy before I actually start. We're gonna be playing, well, we're gonna play a bit more of Witch of the Holy Night. I figured I kind of want to play the light novel a bit more, like work through it, and then I might end up doing something else a little bit later, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna have to decide. But I'll decide on I'll decide a little bit later, if that's okay with you guys. But it seems like this has become like a bit of a... Well, I'll worry about it later. I have a few things in my mind. But let's just go ahead and get started right away. I don't have much to say to you guys in the intro. And I just want you guys to hang around and enjoy. So let's turn down the music a bit, and we'll get started, yeah? We'll get started. But no, I missed you guys a little bit. I hope you guys have been doing good. I, you know, hope you're taking care of yourselves, like, taking it easy, stuff like that. What would I even say? I hope you guys are happy. That, at least that much I hope for. And we got a new bot here as well. Let's see if it doesn't cause any trouble or issues, anything like that. But should take care of some of the chaos that's been happening within the chat. Not in the last few days, but like in general, you know? Let's go ahead and continue. We're just gonna go ahead and continue into chapter 2. Yeah. Last time we were here, well, I don't need to tell you what's happening last time. I'll let you guys just figure it out. Let's figure out what's happening. We just met our guy. Well, you'll see. He's getting the hang of it. Sojiro sighed listlessly. He looked down at the winter courtyard below, lost in thought. December was written on the corner of the chalkboard. He could not believe 10 days had already passed since he transferred to the school. The last vestiges of autumn faded with the change of the month. The trees were all but barren, and the ground below was a mat of fallen leaves. Fourth period was classic. An elderly teacher stood at the lectern and rambled on. While he finally got used to the classroom, he still had a long way to go to get up to speed in his classes. Lacking even the basic understanding most students would learn in the early scholastic life, it was a battle for Sojiro to keep up. Even if he was unable to grasp the content right away, he at least tried to memorize everything in hope that he would make up for it down the road. Which was a losing battle for himself. Which is why he was losing himself in his thoughts. This might be a little bit weird. Which is why losing himself in his thoughts is about the last thing he should be doing. He would normally chastise himself for daydreaming, but... Troublingly, he was unable to concentrate in class today. What? The Sojiro could not place the source of his lack of concentration. It could not have been the winter in the city. It was much milder than in the mountains. Neither was his part-time job particularly tiring. He was not any more physically fatigued than the average student, so that could not be it either. Others might conclude that it might be because the courses were boring. That seemed off the mark too. Sojiro did not share his classmates' opinions about their classes. On the contrary, he rather enjoyed his class time. No, his frame of mind was not to blame either. Trying to figure out what was wrong only made him more depressed. He scolded himself and turned his attention to the chalkboard. The rhythmic ticks of chalk were sending him into a slumber, but he somehow managed to resist the lullaby. And yet, he was still unable to focus on the class. Sojiro reflected silently, as was his custom, and sighed inwardly. Deep down, he knew the source of his agitation. The events of the previous night were the only thing that could be. the chime to signal the end of class, the teacher bowed and exited into the hallway. To see him off, 30 or so students all stood up from their desks. The clock, which seemed to slow dramatically around the 11:30, now struck noon. The tension seemed to fade from the room all at once. The release from a difficult lesson was the start of lunchtime, the highlight of school life. Saki High's cafeteria was not particularly known for its quality of food. Complaints that quality had been below that of a private school went unheeded, and the same unique flavors appeared on the menu each and every day. Private school prices coupled with the subpar quality led to the majority of students opting to opt for boxed lunches instead. Sojo's class 2C was no exception. The boys muscled as many as 10 desks into what resembled a long dining table. Conversely, girls divided themselves into smaller tables of 2 or 3 desks with practice ease and started chatting with their cliques. Cliques. Cliques is such a weird word. Not a single student wasted even a second on their precious lunchtime. Where both sides differed in method, they shared a common goal. Sojourner was struck dumb by the efficiency of the transformation. Even after 10 days, he was unable to keep pace with the rest of the class, and remained seated where he had sat during the previous period. The voice came from a large makeshift dining table near the window. Hosuke Hiromi was beckoning him over while leaning over his chair in a way that looked like he would fall backward at any second. He was regularly shot down by others in class for being lazy and crass, but his earnest nature kept him from getting on anyone's bad side. Though something can be said for not being so forthcoming all the time too.
飯にしようぜ、飯。俺さ、昨日店の残り物もらいすぎたんだよ。春巻きだよ、春巻き。それを見た親父がさ、もらったもんは残すなってうるさい。
Wait, my brain's telling me something. It's telling me a little bit of something. But wait, I'll act on it in a second. A little bit later. Give it a bit more. I'm kind of feeling like maybe it's not visual novel time, just a little bit. I kind of want to play Dark and Darker a bit more, actually. I thought I would just do this to warm up, but I think Dark and Darker should be okay, right? Like, I don't think we need to play visual novels. Maybe. I have to think about it. I definitely want to think about it a bit more. Oh, wait, hold on. I see issues with, hold on, I'm gonna lower this just a little bit. Okay, I hope you guys didn't see that. If you did, don't pay attention to it. Nothing happened yet. Trust. Okay, anyway. It seems his endgame was to find someone who might take pity on him and trade him for something better. The two of them worked at the same restaurant, so he was one of the few people Sojo knew before starting school. He was also the reason Sojo was able to learn the true meaning of the phrase, can't live with them, can't live without them.
お、いいな。しずきも来いよ。今日は待ちに待った缶詰祭りをすっからさ。
Yes. Shizuki Sojiro. That's such a... It's kind of a weird name, no? Hold on. Whoa. Okay.
ついに結婚するのかよ。誰か冷静になった方がいいんじゃないのか？実際。バカ、すげえ楽しいってきっと。そりゃパチモン臭いけど、カニ缶とか食い放題なんだぜ。サバ缶じゃなくて。
Canned crabs is not bad, actually. I actually kind of like canned crabs a little bit.
マジ？やったー！俺も参加する！コンビーフは一人一個？それとも早い者勝ち？
まあ。
お前な、一人で何個も食えるもんじゃねえぞ、あれ。うまいのは最初の一個だけだって。しずきたちが来るなら、ノルマは一人7個に下がるのか。助かるな。
ところで、木の実の弁当の中身、なんか缶詰より硬そうじゃね？
The boys usually pass the time by making fun of each other's lunches, but today they were united against a common foe. Okay. A pyramid of countless cans stood in the middle of the table. They were all been taken from the pantry of a certain student's house. The expiration dates on them were all been scribbled out with a marker.
よし、やろうども。各自毎缶切りの用意はいいな。食べるも地獄、 残すも地獄。我ら5次元目の授業はないものと恐れぬ修羅となり、鉄の悪魔どもを平らげん。食材は下町の何でも紹介、マーケット中山からの提供です。ヒュー、バカも休み休み、イエーイ。
いい感じ。The boys united as one and hoisted their cans in the air.
ほら、しずきも食べようぜ。缶切りならまだあるからさ。いや、君らの弁当の毒味はごめんだって昨日言ったはずだ。それに、その缶詰半分以上、賞味期限切れてるだろ。なんだよ、釣れねえな。
Quite the incivilly excited group of guys. The real motivation seemed to be to spread the pain. But moved by their energy and conceding defeat, Sojiro got up from his seat and joined them. Before he could,
じゃあ私たちが釣り上げようかな。しずきくん、あんなの放っておいて一緒にどう？
is someone like Suzuki kind of popular in school? Like the kind of chill, relaxed guy? I have no idea. I would have figured like maybe being so accommodating might not be so popular. A girl with short but stylish hair called out to him. She also tried to get Sojiro to join the track and field club several days ago.
いや、そっちも遠慮したいな、できれば。
He answered with a troubled look on his face. On the table was nothing but a pile of fruit Sojiro had never seen before.
なんで？パパイヤとか嫌い？マンゴーもあるし、ヤシの実だってあるし、内緒だけど、夕張メロンもあるんだから。
Yubari melon. The members of the fruit group pumped their fists in unison at the last delicacy. What's Yubari melon? Wait, does anyone know? Yubari melon. What is Yubari melon? Yubari melon わからない。Yubari melon. Oh wait, apparently they're a really big company in Hokkaido. What the? Why is Yubari melon Hokkaido's headquartered Japan's most expensive fruit? Yobit? It's just cantaloupe. Huh? It's just cantaloupe. Cantaloupe, why is it so expensive? $70 for a cantaloupe? What the? What are you guys doing? $105 for a cantaloupe. You know how much cantaloupes cost over here? Americaに安いな、カンタロープ。ユーバリメロン。待って。ユーバリメロンは、アメリカに、200円か。200円です。アメリカに。やべ。Yeah, it's only $2 up in America. That's so expensive. That's crazy. It's a little bit crazy. やべ。
待て、なんだヤシのって、あれ食えるもんなの？あ、マンゴー余ったら回してほしいな。バカ、肉食え肉。そんなんだから貧弱な体してんだぞ、お前ら。
Sojiro couldn't keep track of the voices flying across the room.
わかるのは、どっちも破滅的だってことだけだ。
That being said, he found it difficult to refuse them outright. His tendency to accept others' goodwill at face value occasionally left him frozen with indecision. Not accustomed to the regular human interaction, he was unable to judge when it was or was not appropriate to turn someone down. Someone tapped the lost little lamb on the someone tapped the lost little lamb on the shoulder. I should read the entire sentence the first time.
人生台無し
Excuse me.
だ。適当に流しとけばいいんだよ。ほら、お前らもな、善良な羊を悪の園に引きずり込んでんじゃねえよ。
An inappropriately loud voice echoed through the classroom from behind him.
副会長、
この人いいじゃん。やべ。I like him. I should like him. I like him at first sight. The vice president? Yo. ちょっとかっこいいな。I like him. Sojiro turned around to see a boy, a head taller than him. His long hair, while unkept, had been brushed back, giving him an appealing swept-back look. Ino. His attractive features belied the contempt for the classroom his eyes carried. Unlike the perpetually dopey-looking Sojiro, he was an extremely attractive boy, capable of captivating anyone who so much as glanced at him. In most cases, this boy's presence would be met with awe and respect. However,
なんだよ、副会長様のお出ましかよ。てめえらのバカ顔にはコリゴリだって学食に陣取ってたんじゃなかったのかよ。
へへへ。ここは見ての通り、ボンクラどもが集う貧民街でございますよ。王子はほら、A組の綺麗どころとカフェでお茶でもしてればいいじゃない。
またしずき呼びに来たのかよ。青子女子といい、飛び丸殿下といい。しずき、なんかヤバいことしちゃったのか。
しずきくんは校則違反しないじゃん。ちょっとそれ以外のルール破るだけで。ってことはやっぱり築地くん、青崎に振られてからそっちに走ったって本当だったのね。
おもろ。おもろな。You know, they're really funny. They're really funny. They continue to give him a hard time. Sojiro couldn't help but feel sorry for him. The class vice president, on the other hand, showed absolutely no reaction whatsoever. He glared at them with a bored look and simply raised his voice.
相変わらず無駄に元気があって結構じゃねえかてめえら。そんなに活力たぎってんなら冬季特別清掃班にだって参加できるよな。おい今んところ自主的に申し出てるのは全校で一人しかいねえんだ。西全員が参加すりゃ俺も青崎も肩の荷が下りるってもんなんだがよ。
The menacing growl in his voice contrasts greatly with the boy's well-constructed looks. Both Team Canned and Team Fruit's words are doused like a fire being smothered. This is partially due to their fear of the boy, but mostly due to their fear of the special winter cleaning team. Ah yes, the special winter cleaning team. Joining meant spending part of your winter break cleaning up the old school buildings in a mountainous rear courtyard that had been neglected by the previous two student councils. It was a form of legalized torture that could potentially ruin 3 whole days of your winter break. And forget about the compensation in form of extra credits. No, it was pointless to volunteer for a student council project. It was practically a miracle they found a single volunteer.
いや、僕らちょっと体弱いんで、スミッチョで缶詰食べてますね。
私たちも貧血気味で、こうやって果物食べてないと死んじゃうっていうか、冬休みはもう予定いっぱいっていうか。
そうだ。All the students but one scuffled away.
よし、昼食はやっぱり静かにやらねえとな。1年坊主の教室より2年の教室の方がやかましいなんて苦情。
確かにね。
いい加減にしやがれよ、アホード。
I like eating in silence too. Don't know about that. 俺はちょっと変だな。I'm a little weird. I'm a little bit weird. The mob meekly scuffled away. Sojiro turned to join them, but as he did...
お前はこっちだ、宗次郎。ちょい顔貸せ。
The hand on his shoulder held him in place.
だよ、生徒会応募。人んちのテーブルマナーまで指図してほしくねえよな。
Kinomi cursed under his breath to his friends. The second vice president turned to go.
はあ？上等じゃねえか、木の実。いいぜ。お前が記念すべき2人目だ。
Wait, 待って。I have to hear... I'm gonna hear his voice line again. How do I do that? Hold on. I think I scroll up. This... 待って。
はあ？上等じゃねえか、木の実。いいぜ。お前が記念すべき2人目だ。冬休み、 首を洗って待ってやがれ。
いいぜ。いいぜ。いいじゃねえよ。
はあ何言ってんですかあいつ。あれ自主的なイベントじゃん。いくら副会長だって強制はできないですよね。
The provincial out of Class C laughed merrily.
そりゃ昨日までの話だ。会長の提案が学校側に受理されてな。本日付で生徒会役員は強制力のある推薦権をもらえたんだよ。特に会長と副会長の推薦は絶対だ。拒否した場合、学校側はともかく青崎が何するか俺には止められねえから、そのつもりでな。
それ事実上の死刑宣告じゃ。生徒会マジ応募。
Really funny. Kinomi's terrified shrinking continued behind them as the vice president and Sojiro left the classroom. I hope he's not. マジで死んだ。
お
マジで、
前も大
マジで死んだ
変だな。、宗十郎。
あんたも割と暇なんだな、副会長。
The two entered the empty student council room. Misaki High Student Council had the use of two rooms. One was a large office specifically made for student council. The other was an archive room, once used as a preparatory office for math courses. As the latter of the two, the walls were lined with densely packed shelves, making an already cramped room seem even more confined. For this reason, it served more as a private refuge to the student council. The two students sat across from one another. Tobimaru Suzuki Tobimaru was the son of the chairman of Misaki High School and the vice president of the student council. Like Sojiro, he was in second year and first met the transfer student. Like Sojiro, he was in his second year and first met the transfer student a week earlier, when the task of looking after him was dumped on the student council.
副会長はやめろって。クソったれな話だが、俺は所詮会長の犬だからな。
As self-deprecating as his words were, he hardly seemed dissatisfied with the arrangement. He took a snack from his pocket and grimaced before taking a bite. The 100-calorie energy bar sacrificed flavor for efficacy, but somehow it was not enough to prevent him from gnawing on it like a piece of jerky.
そうか。でも犬は良くないな、飛び丸。
Sojiro sat in a chair with a concerned look on his face.
あ？犬がどうしたって？
犬は良くないって言った。例えが違う気がするし、何より怖いぞ、あれ。
なんだよ。山奥育ちのくせに犬が怖いのか？
Why would you be afraid of dogs? That is kind of weird.
そりゃ大抵の生き物は怖いけど、犬は別格だ。徒党を組んだ野犬ほど始末に負えないものはない。足の速さも脅威だけど、何より執念深すぎる。坂だろうと追いかけてくるし、最後の一匹になるまで引かないんだぞ。
What is this guy talking about? Well, hold on. I'm sorry. This is... I don't know why it's so funny to me. Oh wait, hold on. I'm gonna change outfits. This... Wait, what? This feels... This outfit feels a little bit more appropriate for reading a VN. でも、それはめっちゃないんだよな。めっちゃね、ユニートだよ。でもおもろ。本当におもろ。なんじゃこれ。いいな、さん。 I understand why people think Sojiro is really fun. Inside the bright green cloth, 3 beautifully made rectangle. Inside the bright green cloth, 3 beautifully made triangle rice balls.
ショックだ。ショックって何が？
ショックって。
いや、そんなこの世のものとは思えない握り飯を見たのは初めてだ。思わず絶句しちまった。
それどっちなんだ？
褒めてるんだよ、バカ。
Sojiro is almost always confounded by phrasing that can be interpreted in multiple ways. Euphemisms and subtle sarcasm is often lost on him. It was only on the rare occasion, like this one, he chose to confirm what was being said. Tobimaru had come to suspect that Sojiro had a very black and white of seeing things.
ところで、その固まった小麦粉みたいなの、美味しいのか
？Sojiro stared at the energy bar with a curious look on his face.
まずくはねえが、うまくもねえよ。まあ、試してみる分には止めねえが。人間、何事も手間暇惜しむようになっちゃおしまいだぜ。ことが三大欲求ならなおさらだ。
What are the 3 base desires? 3 base desires. What is it? Eating or sleeping? Having fun? Desire for food. Desire for sleep. Desire. Ooh. Seiyoku. 三大欲。そうだな。Sorry, I'm kind of like in a Japanese mood today. Tobimaru quickly finished off his bar, put another one on the table, and grabbed one of Sojiro's rice balls. Sojiro failed to notice the rudeness of the forced exchange and gave the preferred energy bar a try. And I don't like it.
土を食べてるみたいだ。
違いない。遊びをなくせば人生こんなもんだって見本だな。
On a principle, Sojiro labored over his energy bar, cringing all the while. He was both curious of the unknown and loath to leave something unfinished.
今無理に平らげる必要はねえぞ。そいつの利点は携帯食ってところだからな。素で味気ないが、食えるうちは味が落ちないのがいいところだ。まあ、そっちはともかく。どうだ、少しは慣れたか？
ああ、飛丸や青崎が気を使ってくれているからね。
皆さん、ちょっと待って。I'm gonna go ahead and grab more coffee real quick. I should be gone for maybe a few seconds. That's okay, right? I'll be back soon. Trust. Trust me, trust me. Trust me, please. Yeah, be right back. Be right back. よし、もっとで食いましたぜ。でも、I'm a little bit hungry. ちょっと食べたいな。俺が食べたい。俺が高いか。I wanna eat a little bit. I haven't eaten breakfast just yet, so I'm making something in the background. So I'm gonna be in and out for just a little bit. We can keep playing. I'll still be here. But I'm making a little bit of food in the background just for me to eat. Tobimaru turned his eyes up to the ceiling, unable to handle Sojiro's carefree smile. As absent-minded as Sojiro might have been, his expressions were nonetheless incredibly earnest. It was like poison to someone self-absorbed as Tobimaru.
だから青崎は来ねえんだよな。
He took a bite from the rice ball to steer himself away from such thoughts. Though now cold, the rice ball managed to maintain its freshness, startling Tobimaru.
ん？いや待て。気を使ってんのは俺だけじゃねえか。青崎なんてお前が転入した日に彼迷惑だから見張ってての一言だけだぞ。
なんでそこで君が怒るんだ？
いや、だからだな。お前が学校になれるよう陰ながら見守ってんのは俺で、青崎は生徒会室で全校生徒の弱みを集めてるだけって話だ。面倒な苦労してんのは俺だけじゃねえかって。
Tobimaru stops himself, realizing how ridiculous he sounded. Sojiro, rightly so, knew it was nothing to get upset over. Oh, Henry, what's up? How you doing? You're not hanging out at TikTok. You know, I'm streaming right now. I think in TikTok as well as Twitch. I don't know if our stream ended or not. But what's up? What's up? What's up, bro? にhao. にhaoか。はいはい。ありがとうな。Thank you, thank you. You're getting ready to sleep? Oh, I see. I'm just playing visual novels and being boring. でも、I think later, after this, I'm probably gonna do a little bit of, I'm gonna try to live stream my Japanese practice a little bit. ちょっと. I'm gonna see how that goes, and I think I won't be... Well, I'll stop recording so it's not on YouTube, because I think I'll get in trouble on YouTube if I share my lessons. でも, Twitch today, you know, I think it should be... Oh, Twitch today, I think it should be okay. It should be okay anyway. Tobimaru stopped himself, realizing how ridiculous he sounded. Sojiro, rightly so, knew there was nothing to get upset over.
いいさ。青崎に言いつけられなきゃこうなることもなかったしな。知ってるか？あいつどうして俺にこんな役させたと思う？
いいよ。すごいじゃねえよ。It's not that impressive. I'm just need to not be lazy. Cause I'm gonna be living in Tokyo in September. 10月か。I'm gonna be living in Tokyo in September. I need to study. I actually need to study. I should be studying every single day, but I'm really lazy. I think hanging out with Han makes me feel lazy about studying Japanese. Because, you know, it feels like you don't want to study and you just want to play all day. That's the type of feeling that Han kind of gives you.
副会長だからだろ。
会長。
あのな、どうして副会長が転入生一人にかかりっきりにならなくちゃいけねえんだよ。いいぜ。機会があったら青崎本人に聞いてみな。あいつの本性がわかるからよ。
You have a good night too, Henry. Thanks for visiting. I appreciate it. 100%. またね。I'll talk to you tomorrow. He snagged another bite of rice ball while grumbling under his breath. There it was again. Rice grains that were dry enough to be fresh and tender in the mouth. Just dry enough to be fresh and tender in the mouth, a morsel that betrayed its humble description, which must have been delicately molded by a master chef rather than haphazardly clumped into a ball.
そして何よりこの塩加減、中の具から染み出した玄妙な醤油加減はどうだ。食欲をそそるどころか、脳を食欲だけにするような。
おやすみな。
おお。
Do they in Malaysia, do they have onigiri? メレーにおにぎりありますか? Do you? I actually wonder about that. I don't know if that's like all over Asia they have rice balls, or if it's just exclusively Japan.
飛び丸、思ってることが口に出てるみたいだけど。
Hold on. Chat and Henry. Henry, if you're still here, I'm gonna be right back. Hold on. But I think you're still here for the question. Yeah, do you guys have rice balls in Malaysia? I have no idea. I probably could just ask my cousin too. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but my cousin went to college in Malaysia actually. She got her degree from over there and became a nurse to study in Malaysia. But be right back. I'm gonna finish making my breakfast. But you have a good night, Henry, if you're gonna be heading to sleep soon. Be right back. BRB. Shh. I'm back, I'm back. Sorry about that wait. 持ってきましたぜ。I'm still making I'm still making something. I think it's about ready already. I'm just gonna be eating some
それ
eggs.
ほどのショックだったってわけだ。
あ、ごめん。
なあ、その字。これ、具は何だ？
It's only natural to inquire about the unexpectedly delicious bite. You were nibbling around the edges and not yet reached its center.
ああ、それはイナゴ。
ありえねえ
The vice president choked on his cough. He'd assumed Sojiro would prefer earthly ingredients instead of seafood on account of its mountain life, but he never expected the use of grasshoppers.
くそ食う前に言えよな信じられねえぐらいうまいと思っちまったじゃねえか
ああ、今のは嘘だよ。
They locked eyes for a moment.
本当は鮭。いくらなんでもイナゴはね。
おおそうだよないや安心したいくらなんでもイナゴはねえよな
Someone though.
ああ、こんな都会で身の締まったイナゴが手に入るもんか。
As curious as his words were, Tobimaru decided to let it go.
たくどっちにしても冗談きついぜ危うく吐き出すところだったじゃねえか
君が青崎の悪口を言うからだ。
Huh? Sojiro closed his eyes and he continued to chew on his rice ball. Tobimaru watched incredulously as Sojiro made no attempt to hide his disapproval.
おい今のはさすがに聞き捨てならねえぞ俺が青崎の悪口を言ったから意種返しをしたとそういうことか
Sojiro continued chewing. The country boy's silent protest said all that needed to be said. The vice president suddenly looked like he'd been struck by lightning.
なんてこったお前まさか青崎に惚れてんのかそうなのかそうなんだなおい眠ってねえで起きろ
Tobimaru flew out of his chair and violently shook Sojiro by the shoulders. Sojiro opened his eyes.
そうかお前は1年前の惨劇を知らないんだな知ってりゃそんなストレートな破滅願望を持つこともなかったろうに
君の言葉には誤解が含まれてるけど、それは後にする。それより、1年前の惨劇って？
Sojiro 怖いくない待って。スクリーンショット欲しい。おもろ。待って。Hold on. I'm gonna grab my breakfast now. Stop right back. I'll be back shortly. Very, very shortly. It won't take too long. Alright. Sorry about the wait, guys. I've just been getting ready, getting breakfast, yada yada. I should be good now. Let's see what will happen next. Though, I really do maybe want to play something else. Shino. Toby Mater regained his composure and sat down after a moment's thought.
仕方ねえ。この手の噂をするのは好きじゃねえんだけどな。
Tobimaru reassured himself it was in Sojiro's best interest as a young man to know.
あれは青崎がまだ1年の頃の話だ。あの頃はみんな入学したばっかりで、青崎がどんな性格か誰も知らなかった。あいつ、外見は文句なしに美人だからな。そりゃ男どもは狂気乱舞したもんさ。
Little did they know, soon after that they would go crazy for an entirely different reason.
4月5月はもう上を下への大騒ぎだよ。あの時ばかりは上級生も下級生もなかったな。野郎同士の牽制、共闘、果ては決闘まで。まあよくも騒いだもんさ。青崎に近寄るだけでも大変だったんだぜ。
なんでそんなよくわからない事態になるんだ？
そりゃ青崎は一人きり、命知らずな野郎は延べ100人ほどいたからだよ。一人一人青崎とランチしても3ヶ月かかるだろ。だからまずは男同士でつまんねえ暗闘があったのさ。まあいい。わからねえならそこは飛ばそう。所詮負け犬どもの話だしな。本筋にはなりえねえ。でな、そんなどうでもいい戦いを勝ち残った奴らは列なしで1年の女に言い寄ったわけだ。青崎はあれで、なんていうか、相手のなけなしの誠意じゃなくてあれか、勇気、そういうのを無視できずに認めちまうやつだからな。言い寄ってくる相手を可能な限り丁寧に断ってた。
That's kind of shocking, actually. She seems like the kind of person who would just kind of say what she wants to. But that's just my perspective.
が、中にはそれで勘違いしちまうやつもいてよ。3年のある野郎が、これは脈ありと見て、青崎に何度も言い寄ったんだよ。多分、そいつは頭がおかしかったんだ。今にして思うと、そうとしか思
えん。Incidentally, Tomimaru decided to gloss over the fact that this student was also the former student council president.
楽園ばかりか。青崎の家まで押しかけたそうでな。あまりにしつこいんで、青崎も堪忍袋の尾が切れたんだろう。ちょっと口にするのははばかられる方法で振ったんだよ。結果、そいつは自分から他校に転入希望したばかりか、三崎町からも逃げ出しちまって、青崎も1ヶ月ばかり自宅謹慎を食らった。世に言う血の公会堂事件だ。
Bro, poor dude. Well, I don't want to say poor dude. I feel like he kind of got what he deserved in this situation. Just a little bit.
詳しく知りたけりゃ本人はまずいな。新聞部にでも行け。あそこの部長は命知らずだから、聞けば面白がって教えてくれる。
飛び丸、その具体的な表現を声に避けてないか。
He really isn't saying everything, huh?
仕方ねえだろ。 理事長の息子だろうがなんだろうが、怖いものは怖えし、高校ぐらいは無事卒業しとかねえとな。うちの女子の制服見るたびに規制を上げるトラウマなんて持ちたくねえよ。
Sojiro tilted his head to the side in confusion. Tobimaru had lost him with that comment.
ああ、いい。それより、なんで青崎なんかがいいんだよ、宗次郎。
He tilted his head again, this time to the other side.
おい、お前、本当に青崎が好きなのか？単に胸がドキドキ言ってるだけなら、それは恋じゃなくて恐怖だってオチもあるぜ。いくらその字がぼんやりでも、理由ってもんがあるだろう。
He tilted his head even further. Hold on, guys. 朝ごはんを食べますよ. I'm eating breakfast right now. So I'm a little bit distracted. I shouldn't be doing that though. I should be reading what's going on. But he tilted his head even further. Tobimaru was saying he sent it off, but Sudara decided not to press the matter. All the more because he found many of his own emotions toward Aoko Aozaki to be incomprehensible.
そうだな、おかしい。俺はあまり彼女を知らないのにね。
That's because they'd not truly spoken to each other since the day she'd shown him around. Every time Sojiro tried to talk to her, she immediately got up and left. As fate would have it, they ended up working together that recent Sunday, but only made only idle chatter on the way back.
けど飛び丸、
When
君は知らないだけなんだ。時々なんだが、誰かの視線を感じて振り返ってみると、いつ失敗するかを心配して見ている人がいる。飛び丸の言う通り、ただ廊下で俺を見かけて、単に監視していただけなのかもしれない。本当は俺のことなんて気にせず素通りしたいのかもしれない。けど、どんな種類であれ、彼女の心配は本物だ。それに、ここが一番大事だと思うんだけど、実際の話、青崎のそういうところのおかげで、俺は助かっていたりするんだ。
his tone was measured and sincere. And Tobimaru sighed with a tinge of regret. If not for those words, he would have introduced Sojiro to a more suitable girl with whom he would have lived out the rest of his school days in peace. He never went to such lengths for his other friends. Generally speaking, if it was, huh? Sometimes I can't read English, guys. Generally speaking, if it was of some benefit to him, he was unafraid of exploiting another. If they were of no use, he wouldn't bother getting involved with them. That was how Tobimaru Tsuchiki operated. Sojiro happened to be the type of person who provided no benefit to Tobimaru. It somehow sparked in him a desire to help. It was not that friendship was totally alien to him. He didn't have many people he felt that close to. So Sojiro really fallen for Ayako. It was not his place as a friend to try to change his mind.
やれやれ。結局、惚れてるやつには理由なんていらねえんだな。
そんなことはない。理由なら一つある。彼女を一目見たときに、綺麗だなって思ったぞ。
ん
Tobimaru's shoulders slumped.
なんだあんだけ恥ずかしいセリフ言っといて、要は外見に惚れてますな。結局見てくれかよ、宗次郎。
綺麗なものに見とれるのはいいことじゃないのか？自分を綺麗に見せる努力をしているんだから、 外見から内面を判断するのはそんなおかしな話じゃないと思う。
I kind of get that.
ん
It sounded like sophisticism to Tobimaru, but he had no counterpoint to offer.
しょうがねえ。わかったよ。この話はもうやめよう。
うん。
その字が誰をてめえの女にするか、俺の知ったことじゃねえし。
No, Tobimaru was mistaken about one major point during this whole conversation. I mean that Sunjiro was not head over heels in love with Akko, and hoped to go steady with her. He simply liked her as a person. Nobody could have foreseen the massive calamity that would be caused by this simple misunderstanding.
だがよ、一つだけ忠告しておくぜ、宗次郎。青崎は喧嘩をした相手だろうと別に嫌うわけじゃない。逆に言えば親切にしたって別に好かれるわけでもない。いい例が俺だ。
Yoko wakarana. He spoke with a pained sigh as he opened up, as if opening old wounds from the past.
そうか。詳しく。
おう、昔な、あいつがあんまりに独善的だったんで、つい手を挙げかけちまったことがある。半年前の夏だ。1年もあいつと生徒会やってたもんだから、俺も女っつうより戦友って気になっててな。つい勢いで平手打ちをしようと右手を上げた。我ながら4番バッターも角也という腰のひねり。確かな実感とともに俺は勝利を確信したもんさ。
He had a distant look in his eyes as the world trailed off. What do you mean he took a swing at her?
翌日になって、こりゃ完全に敵扱いされたなと覚悟して生徒会室に行ってみりゃ、青崎はいつも通りだった。で、以来あいつと俺は会長と副会長で収まってる。
Is that a metaphor for asking around? Sojiro sighed at his story. He then said with absolute confidence.
今の話を総合すると、君は単にのろけたいのか？
Clearly he missed the point entirely.
なわけあるか。今の話のどこに甘酸っぱい要素があんだよ。俺としちゃあいつを女として見なくなった決定的な事件だったんだがね。
なんだ、違うのか？
A look of disappointment filtered through across Sojiro's face. Tobimaru revised his opinion. Sojiro was something of a simpleton, but there was a quality to him that Tobimaru couldn't quite place.
とにかくだ。俺が言いたいのは、青崎青子の好き嫌いの基準ってのは普通じゃないってことだ。いいことをすれば好かれる、気に入らないことをすれば嫌われるってわけじゃねえんだよ。あのお姫様は。
Hime-sama. I was gonna use Hime-sama like that. I'm gonna remember that. It's just a... 確かに楽しいな。Sojiro answered that he would keep that in mind as he looked at the clock. We'd been talking for a while and lunch was almost over.
もう君からの話はない
Breakfast is
か？
almost over too. Oh. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss?
あ？初めからねえよ、そんなの。
Why did Tobimaru even brought him here in the first place? Sojiro tilted his head in wonder, but shook it off to deal with the more pressing matters at hand.
よし。じゃあもう少し付き合ってくれ。飛び丸に聞きたいことがあったんだ。
Tobimaru sat up straight, having never seen Sojiro's face look so serious before. Sojiro set aside his rice ball and cleared his throat.
実は昨日こんなことがあって。
Kino. He spoke solemnly, and as carefully as possible he recounted what occurred the night before.
しずきくんいる？
It was 10 to 12 and lunchtime quickly came to an end. Her face popped into Class C, as lively as ever, as if an everyday occurrence. Alko Awasaki announced her presence. Awasaki Alko, demo, Alko Awasaki ちょっと変だ. It's really weird to say Japanese names Western style. I think something kind of wrong with us, actually. Not saying your last name first. That should be like the description of who you are before you say your first name. At least we're a little bit weird compared to most places, right? Is that just me? Well, Uncle wasn't part of Class C. She didn't let it bother her as she entered the classroom. In contrast, the baby birds had been so noisily chirping while eating lunch quickly quieted and began to rearrange their seats.
どういう意味よそれ。
She bristled internally before looking around the room. She could not see the male student she'd come to find. He hardly stood out, so she thought maybe he'd been hidden in a corner somewhere, but it appeared that not be the case.
有里くん、出席番号12番のしずきくんは？
Akko kept her tone professional.
俺？しずきならさっき飛び丸殿下が連れて行ったよ。
The boy was shocked that she actually knew his name. One might think that the reason students referred to Tobimaru, Tsukiji Tobimaru by royal title was because he was the chairman's son, but it was because he was actually because he actually acted like royalty. In fact, the vice president was said to have said to have taken a liking to the title. Not that. In fact, the vice president was said to have taken a liking to the title. Translation is so.
あいつしずきくんと仲いいの？
She seemed surprised. The class was surprised at her surprise.
いいも悪いも、築地くんが男子と仲良く話してるのって今まで見たことなかったよ、私たち。あ、木の実くんはバカだから別だけど。
そうだよな。初めは殿下もあんまり話してなかったけど、3日もしたら楽しそうに口喧嘩してたもんな。ま、しずき相手に突っ張っても仕方ないじゃん。あいつ変だけどいいやつだし。
そうよね。いい人だもんね、宗十郎くん。
Having recomprised themselves, Class C started chatting again. Alko listened to her bed, and then turned around and left the classroom with a lighter. Joniko. All the Sojiro talk finished as quickly as it started. Lunchtime was coming to a close in the student council room as well. Sojiro, having told a story, was smiling in satisfaction. Tobimaru, sitting across the room, was frowning.
さあ、感想を聞かせてくれ。
Sojiro told him his yarn as best he could. Tobimaru fingered his brow as if angry or concerned.
なあ、そうのじ。お前、人をバカにできるほど器用なやつじゃねえよな。
失礼な。器用な方だぞ、俺は。
His response only confirmed Tobimaru's suspicions. It had been one of the two possible conclusions. That what Sojiro had told him was true, or Sojiro was so tired that he must have been hallucinating at the time. Tobimaru sincerely hoped it was the latter.
宗十郎、率直に言って、俺はお前が気に入っている。嘘のない人間なんてのは人間じゃねえ。
Anyone who never lies can't really be considered human.
俺は人間嫌いだから、そんなお前さんが気に入ってたりするんだが、 そんなやつまで馬鹿げたことを言い出したら、俺は明日から何を頼りに昼飯を食えばいいんだ？
学食で食べればいいんじゃないか？
Having heard her suggestion, Tobimaru's face darkened.
わかった。はっきり言おう。それは幻覚だ。
Genkoku. I remember.
幽霊の正体見たり枯れ尾花ってやつだろうさ。それでも納得いかないってんなら、いい精神科を紹介してやる。
それが君の感想か。よし、ならいいんだ。
As bitter as Tobimaru's words might have sounded, Sojiro swallowed them whole.
そりゃ俺だって神隠しの類だと思ったよ。けど都会じゃもしかしてそれもありなのかもしれないだろ。確かめたかったのはそこなんだ。
I see. Satisfied, Sojiro finished off his last rice ball and folded the cloth. And neatly folded the cloth.
おい、すると何か？お前は都会の人間は口から火を吹いたり、腕が伸びたりするのが普通だと思ったのか？
まあ普通じゃないけど、特別でもないんじゃないかと思ったんだ。ここは山にないものが溢れている何でもありの場所だ。だからそれぐらいやってのける人だってもしかしているのかなと。
そうだな。His face was as serious that it made as serious that it made Tobimaru realize how big of a culture shock Sojiro must have been experiencing. Living up in the mountains with no electricity, in a place where the night sky was as it always been, where humans were just one more organism in nature's garden. It makes sense that those conditions created a boy like him. The idea of children growing up so pure was an appealing one, but maybe it was natural to forego civilization when the population was so small. Or perhaps it was so simple a world that excessive knowledge was deemed irrelevant. It was precisely because the city life offered him so much that was impossible up till now, that he'd come to the conclusion that anything was possible here.
安心しろ。確かにこっちにはタチの悪い奴らばっかりだけどな。そんな魔法使いみたいな奴はいねえよ。
Zandal's
そうだ
right.
といいんだけど。
But Sojiro seemed unsure. And on Tobimaru's part, there were things to Sojiro's story that he found hard to swallow. Whether true or not, the incident Sojiro had described was disturbing.
まあ、事の真偽というか、どんな間違いでそう見えたかは置いておいてだ。結果だけ見れば、うちの生徒が夜の公園で人を殺したってことになる。しかも双方控えめに表現しても普通じゃねえ。
One of our school students killed someone in the park. What was that man? Wait. As a newcomer to town, Sojiro assumed that everyone his age was a student at the school. For better or worse, he was right.
一人は火炎放射器を持って、もう一人は、まあなんだ、なぎなたでも持ち出したのか、刃物らしきものが何メートルも伸びたときた。
Sojiro bobbed his head up and down as he listened to disbelief in Tobimaru's voice. Hearing it repeated by someone else, he could see how someone might think he was taking them for a ride.
正気を疑うな。尋常じゃないぞその話。
宗十郎、お前、実は俺をからかってんだろ。
いや、全く。けどまあ、都会にはそんな人間はいないんだろ。なら飛び丸の言う通り、夢でも見てたんだ。ここのところアルバイトと試験が重なって辛くて。
Winter break was around the corner, and the end of term exams were but a week away. Both proving formidable opponents for
俺
Sojiro.
は基本ができてないから、人の倍程度の勉強じゃ追いつけない。ほら、勉強ばかりしているとノイローゼをするんだろ。
そりゃするんじゃなくてなるものだが、まあ、何にせよ、やりすぎ飲みすぎは良くねえわな。試験。
減らしてはいるんだけどね。
これ書いた。
年末ってアルバイトを休む人も多くて、その代行も頼まれがちだし。
He shrugged helplessly. It was obvious from his words he'd been busy. Even if he was not going crazy, lack of sleep could cause him to daydream. And even if it all did, even if this did, even if this all did go down in the middle of the night.
なんだか大変そうだな、宗十郎。
ああ、実はかなり参ってる。
Sojiro nodded with a pained look on his face. What was strange, however, was that he didn't look the least bit tired.
泣き言言わねえのは感心するけどな。お前、新郎は顔に出ないたちか？
そりゃ、新郎はどこも痛まないからね。
As he answered, Sojiro looked up at the clock on the wall. Lunchtime is almost
あ
over.
るある、時間だ。
ああ、もうそんなに経ったか。気にせず先に行ってていいぜ。俺は。
Oh, Machikata. Sad things to do. Sojiro watched as Tobimaru made a gesture that seemed to lament the life of a student council member. His eyes looked as if he was looking at a piece of art and not understanding its value.
授業をサボれる身分っていうのは羨ましいな。そういうの、飛丸が嫌いな手抜きじゃないのか？
そりゃ誤解も甚だしい。俺の欠席は手抜きじゃねえ。特権ってやつだと言ったろ。
The Bard President angrily defended himself as he stood up. The transfer student merely gazed at him unfazed.
おいおい、あれだけ説明したのに全然分かってなかったのか？しょうがねえ。まず座れ。いいか、その字。常人を上回る英気と幸運を兼ね備えながら、座することなく精進してきた俺でも、ここを卒業しちまえば裸一貫になっちまうんだぞ。ひでえ話だ。てめえの家柄を活用できんのはあと1年ちょいだけなんだぜ。これの一体どこが羨ましいってんだ。普通一生続くはずの親の七光ってやつが、俺の場合はたった3年間しかねえんだからな。となりゃ有効なうちに使っておかなきゃもったいなくておちおち眠ってもいられねえ。ああ、嫌だ嫌だ。何が嫌かって、バカどもとガン首並べて金勘定するのが嫌だ。たく、嫉妬渦巻く大人の世界じゃ、俺のオブラートみたいな心なんてパックリ飲まれて溶けちまうこと受け合いだろうさ。
This guy's kind of funny. He really is really funny. I feel like he wasn't born with he sounds like someone complaining about being born with a bronze spoon instead of a silver one. While he must have been joking, Sojiro took his tone to be completely sincere. He listened as he envied Tobimaru's ability to open up about his feelings. From his frame of reference, there was nothing he could do but take Tobimaru for his word. When
あら、そんな権利なんて留年すればいくらでも引き延ばせるのに。なんなら協力してあげましょうか。
the door to the student council room flew open, washing away Sojiro's half-hearted responses to his friend. This frosty statement destroyed the warm atmosphere of the room. It also marked the abrupt end of Tobimaru Tsukiji Tobimaru's reign here.
いや、いい。自分の夢は自分の力だけで叶えようと常々思ってるんだ。
I might freestyle the translations of the story a little bit from now on, because I feel like they're a little bit weird to say.
なら今みたいな恥ずかしいこと力説しないでね。廊下にまで聞こえてたわよ、副会長さん。
Fukaicho-san. Because I think the translations are a little bit literal, which helps out for understanding stuff like, it helps for understanding Japanese, but for having a natural English conversation, it's a little bit weird. Not missing a beat, Ozaki Ako stepped into the room. Her dark hair slightly disheveled as if she'd been running. Her gaze missed the sitting Sojiro entirely and was focused completely on the ranting vice president.
頑張れ、 飛び丸。
Sojiro quietly got up to head back to his
割
classroom.
と白状なんだな、お前って。
Tobimaru grumbled in front of Uncle.
だって時間がない。
だから、そういうのが白状とだな。
He cut himself off. Uncle briefly shifted her gaze to Sojiro.
時間がないのは私も同じよ。あなたにはいつも振り回される。
Not missing a complaint. Not missing a complaint. It was her honest
な
opinion.
んだ要件は総十郎かよ。
安心なさい。あなたにもあるから。
Her eyes shimmered with a murderous glee. It was slightly different from the more solemn gaze which Tobimaru had grown accustomed to. For whatever reason, Uncle's mood seemed to be worse than usual.
しずきくん、あなた、走るのと泳ぐの、どっちが好き？
Uncle asked abruptly. Sojiro frowned a little before saying he was fine with either
ダメ
one.
よ。一つにして。
泳ぐ方かな。けど、どうして？
あなたがまだどこの部にも所属してないから。
Mm. It was a succinct reply. One that left no room for Sojiro to object.
うちの校則読んだわよね。生徒はただ一人の例外もなく、部活動に参加しなくてはならない。正直どうかと思う校則だけど、決まりは決まりだから。
そんな無茶な。悪いけど、そこまでの暇はないんだ。
でしょうね。
An equally terse reply. She was simply to the point, but Tobimaru got the impression that she was expressively trying to keep her interaction with Sojiro short. They stared at each other in silence. Tobimaru stood breathlessly silent on the sidelines until Sojiro broke the
青
impasse.
崎は分かってると思ってた。あ、いや違う。うん。だから、そこが強いんだろうね。
Sojiro stood up from his seat. He walked past Alko into the
こ
hallway.
れ、明日からでいいんだろ？
しずきくんがいいならね。
He did his best to force a smile before leaving his student council room. While watching the events play out, Tobimaru found himself deeply impressed with Sojiro. He could tell from Alko's behavior that she was trying to get a rise out of Sojiro. Sojiro, on the other hand, didn't react. Heedless of what Alko was doing, he simply went on his way. To Tobimaru, it was hard to believe Sojiro had not taken offense. From his point of view, Sojiro's poker face had been a performance of a lifetime.
いや、でも、何が強いんだろうな、会長。
He looked at Alko curiously. Alko stood completely still, staring at the wall.
青崎
Alko showed no response.
おい、会長。青崎。青子女子。おい、聞いてんのかよ、青崎青子。
さいはね、青を呼ぶな。
Fearing echoed through the student council room. It was a beautiful sound that could be heard in the hallway and made Tobimaru's rant from earlier pale in comparison.
やかましい。うるせえのはてめえも同じだ。
Perhaps her shouting was still ringing in his ears, or he was just inside to answer a shout, but he shot back
そ
reflexively.
んなんだから男の一人もできねえんだよ、お前は。ほら、目覚めたか？
別にあなたの声は聞こえてた。煩わしかったから無視してただけよ。黙らせるの面倒だし。
てめえな、俺はカカなんかか、おい。
Hold on, guys. My cell phone has been lighting up for a little bit. Let me find out what's happening. Let me just see. Take a look and find out. Oh. Yeah, they. Oh, I see. I see, I see, I see. I'm looking at a bit of work stuff right now. But I'm not gonna worry about it for the time being. It's okay. Let's go and keep playing. I might hide chat for a bit because chat might be blocking the game text. And I don't want to be an idiot the entire time. So here. This that should be good for now. If you guys miss chat, just let me know. I'd be happy to bring it back.
ほう、その心は？
お互い何を言ってるかわからない。意味のない会話なら音声みたいなものでしょ。
Based on that statement, Alco must have been under the impression that dating was the act of two lovers whispering nonsense to each other.
問題は、お前にとって意味のある会話ってのがどの程度の価値かってことだが、いつになくきついじゃねえか、青崎。
ちょっとね、今愛嬌を振りまける状況じゃないのよ。
不思議だ。この2年間で青崎の愛嬌なんてものは見たことがないんだが。
飛び丸のいない時に振りまいてたの。
そうかよ。やっぱりあの時のこと恨んでるんだろ。生徒会長さんはよ。
There's only one thing that Tobimaru can be talking about. The incident that occurred in a student council room this past summer.
え？ずいぶんと昔の話じゃないそれ。そんなどうでもいいことに容量を使っちゃもったいないわよ。ただでさえ脳の覚醒部分が少ないのに。
As the conversation wore on, Ako's murderous aura began to fade, and her sharp gaze gave way to a calm demeanor rarely seen from her. It was quite possible that nobody besides Tobimaru had seen this side of her at school before.
ご忠告どうも。俺だってあんなことは忘れてよ。ただ、さっきその字がバカなこと言いやがるから、つい思い出しちまったんだよ。くそ、考えてみりゃ場所まで一緒じゃねえか。
What's this boy talking about? Is he talking about the incident where he took a swing at her? Was that a metaphor? Like he tried to ask her out? Or did he like try to hit her? I think he tried to ask her out. But she was unfazed by it. Nostalgic. Hawk on the other hand was scowling.
ちょっと待って。あの話、彼にしたの？
おう、俺がてめえに、なんで会長になんか立候補したのよ。あんたは副会長って顔でしょ、どう見ても。なんて挑発されて、生涯最高の月をしたところまでな。
Oh, he legit actually tried to punch her. Alco let out a sigh as if relieved Tobimaru had not told Sojiro the rest of the story. Even if she wasn't sure why.
あれは確かにびっくりするぐらいいい月だった。思わず体が反応しちゃったもんね。
やべ。
ところで、私そんなこと言ったっけ？
言った。しかも俺が保健室に運ばれたのをこれ幸いと強引に副会長にしやがった。
Since that day, Tobimaru had served as vice president to the person who usurped the role from.
いいけどな。俺に会長職は合わねえって分かったし、副会長の方が性に合ってやがる。会長なんてやってたら、危うく親父みたいな野郎になってただろうしよ。
プライド高い分、できることは全部やるからね、飛び丸は。会長職に先進するあまり、気がついたら優等生になってたあんたも見たかったけど。
やめてくれ、ゾッとしねえ。猫かぶるのはお前だけで十分だ。
Tobimaru shooed Alco away like an annoying fast. It was a typical example of crude verbal abuse. It was a typical example of the crude verbal abuse exchanged on a daily basis. With a wittiness that only two long-time foes could manage.
で、なんでそんな話したのよ。
は？
半年前のここの事件をなんで彼に話したのよ。
ああ、そっちか。いや、 あいつがバカなこと口走ったからなんだが。
He stopped himself before he could say any more. He knew better than to slip the fact that Sojiro had a thing for alcohol. Everyone knew new guys didn't sell each other out like that, even if it was all in truth a misunderstanding.
それより、さっきのはないんじゃねえのか、青崎。お前、宗十郎に恨みでもあんの
？7日以上前の恨みを引きずるほど私はお姫様じゃないつもりだけど。
What happened a week ago? He wanted to retort that she was more like a queen than a princess. But he'd come to know her too well over the past few years to dig himself into a hole like that.
恨みはないね。それにしちゃ、恋に喧嘩売ってただろ。なんでだ。確かに調子の狂うやつだが、あいつほどいいやつはいねえだろうに。
悪魔じゃねえよ。
おい待て。なんだその足元のシロアリを見るかのような態度は。
別にあんたまでそのセリフを言うのかって心底から見下げ果てただけよ。いいやつ、いい人、結構じゃない？喧嘩を売る相手としちゃ上等だわ。誰も憎んであげないなら私ぐらいそうしないとね。
やべ、赤って気持ちすぎるよな。うわ、怖え。怖えな。It's really fun to hear her talk.
しないとねって。
いい感じ。She said it casually, having regained her composure. Tomura couldn't follow her reasoning at all. Tomura was used to Alko's erratic trains of thought, but hitting Sojiro for no reason seemed needlessly cruel. His friend's naive and innocent face came to mind, then he blurted.
けど、宗十郎は青崎が好きなんだぜ。それでも嫌いなのか
His vow of silence lasted no more than even 2 minutes.
いや、今のはな、青崎。
He tried to take it back, but it was too late. She'd heard his words loud and clear. All he could do was hope. All he could hope for now was that she would take it well.
そりゃそうでしょ。好き嫌いは誰にもあるし。けどこればかりはね、彼が私と仲良くしたいって言っても、私は嫌いなんだから仕方ない。
Stone cold Alko. Tobimaru found himself filled with indignation of how detached Alko was being.
いや、そんなお友達感覚の話じゃなくてだな。
やべ。
そういう好き嫌いじゃなくて、その字は本気でお前に惚れてるって言ったんだよ。
He shouted his face with the embodiment of sincerity. Alko gave him a blank stare. It was the face of someone who lost their wallet hours earlier and only just realizing it now. It was the first instant of doubt that ushered into the reality. The first instant of doubt that ushers in the reality of the situation. But an instant is all it was. で She answered coolly, as if she had no idea why it should matter to her at all.
でときたか。鬼でもなけりゃ悪魔だな。お前って女は。よかろう。聞こえなかったのならもう一度言ってやる。
Tobimaru gave up any pretense of masculine solidarity and fired back hard.
いいわよ、そんなの。つまらないもの。
Wait,待って。Wait, cool. Oh. Well, you guys can hear the game audio, right? I got scared because let me make sure as well. 우리만 펑커스잖아. 그쵸. Thinking of the boys that still harbored unacquitted love for Alko, Tobimaru tried hard to come up with a name befitting the demoness in front of him.
なるほどね。それでさっきの話に結びつくわけだ。へえ。柄にもなく友達思いじゃない？殿下。ってことは、聞くも無残、語るも無情っていう私の噂話、教えてあげたんでしょ？
待って。She she laughed as a fiendish smile adorned her face. Tobimaru repented to God. Tobimaru repented to God, whoever and whatever he or she might be, for ever bringing up Anko's love life.
飛び丸にしちゃ正しい判断ね。褒めてあげるから、どんな話をしたのか聞きたいな、私。
She was smiling, but Tobimaru wished she'd just at least try to hide her bloodlust.
代表作とここでの事件を2つばかり。
Anko nodded with satisfaction as she listened to Tobimaru's hesitant answer.
こういう時、噂話って便利よね。うるさいのを追っ払ってくれるから。でも、そんな話を考えなしで広めたら大変だから、これからは気をつけてね。
Had it been in writing, the chilling sweet tone of her words could have been signed with a heart. Whether angry or happy, Anko spoke with a disturbingly cute manner whenever she was in a heightened emotional state. Tobimaru took note of this new discovery. It was that it did nothing to get him out of this situation.
ああ、俺も命は惜しいからな。口はもう滑らねえよ。けど、青崎、本気で宗十郎が嫌いなのか？
He knew it was a topic he was better off avoiding, but he tried asking anyway. The bonds between men at times shine more beautifully than a pearl.
まあ、好きじゃないから嫌いっていうわけじゃないけど、私が彼のことを嫌う理由は自分でもわからない。だからダメなのね、きっと。
Which is probably the problem. Huh? Perhaps to placate Tobimaru, Anko paused in contemplation before she answered. Giving a moment without immediately putting out a reason meant that not even he could complain.
そうか。まあ、そういうことならしょうがねえか。何しろ、綺麗さっぱり感情論だ。お互い理由もなく好きと嫌いじゃ、手を貸す隙間もねえわけだし。
Bro, it's almost as if this guy is creating the disaster on purpose. Thinking that by the end of it, Tobimaru looked up toward the ceiling and silently apologized to Sojiro. However, his final sentence appeared to have piqued Aoko's interest.
今の、どういう意味？
どういう意味な？ Aoko. Her fox tear had disappeared. Failing to pick up on this, Tobimaru answered nonchalantly.
いや、あいつもさ、青崎に惚れた理由がわからないなんて言いやがってな。まあ、違ったか。理由なんてないなんて意味だったかな。
Tobimaru was still in disbelief that Sojiro had been charged by Uncle's appearance, so he purposely left out that part.
理由はないですって。
ああ、なんで。俺がいくらお前の噂話をしても無駄だった。天津さえなんて言ってたかな。そうそう。理由はどうあれ、青崎の心配は本物なんだとか、自分はそれで助かってるとか、俺なんかには言えないセリフだったのは確かだね。どうにも。
Chad, you might not know the secret about me, but I actually really enjoy drama. A little bit.
はっきりしてんのは、他の野郎どもと違って、噂を聞いても手を引く素振りなんざみじんもなかったってことだけ。
Tobimaru finally noticed a shift in Aoko's demeanor. She was scowling at the wall. She glared at it in silence like he was our worst enemy, and this continued for several minutes.
何それ？さっきといい、それといい、どこかで聞いたようなことばっかり。
So great was her ire that gnashing her teeth was audible. The gnashing of her teeth was audible. The irritation seethed until it reached the point that Aoko forgot Tobimaru was even in the room. Tobimaru looked heavensward for forgiveness, sensing that he brought further calamity on Sojiro's head.
少し分かったわ。なんであいつが気に食わないのか。
どういうこと？ Tobimaru looked away as if to indicate that he'd rather not know, but Aoko ignored him and began grumbling venomously.
あいつ、私が嫌いなやつと言動が似てるのよ。誰彼構わずいい人扱いされるところとか、妙にふわふわしてるところとか、 いちいち私の勘に触るところとか。
Glancing idly up at the clock, Tobimaru thought that that last part just sounded like misplaced anger. And that was that. One o'clock had come and gone.
わかった。もういい。この話をした俺が悪かった。で、俺に用ってのはなんだよ。言っとくけど、もう授業始まってるぜ。
え？授業ってなんで？いつ？
いや、さっきその字が出てってから、青崎がギラーンって壁に睨んでた時にチャイムが鳴ったんだよ。いいのか、生徒会長。5次元目ばっくれて。
いいわけないでしょ。なんで黙ってんのよ、あんたは。
She looked like she was on the verge of tears as she shouted and put in her necktie. Tobimaru raised his hands in mock surrender, a gesture reserved only for the true victor.
蚊の方がエレガントなんて言いやがった仕返しだ。思い知るがいい。男の純情を踏みにじったり焼き殺したりするエリート悪魔め。
相変わらず細かく根に持つ男。言動には言動で返しなさいよね、卑怯者。
She tightened her necktie around her. She tightened his necktie around his neck with a yank. The vice president smiled with a thuggish grin as if her reaction made his victory that much sweeter.
お前の古典が破滅に向かっているのは周知の事実。そして A 組の5次元目は言うまでもない。藤代のばあさん。青崎のこと嫌ってるしな。
青崎いいな。Well, compared to when she pops up in Tsukihime, she's very, what's the word? Mischievous. Very, very much, she acts her age. I really like it. I really like it. I actually enjoy it a lot. Fushishiro had one of the longest tenures at the school, so it's only natural she was in charge of teaching the classics.
こんなところで俺のネクタイを引っ張る余裕があるのなら、急いで自分の教室に立ち返るがいい。情けだ。別に止めはしねえよ。
くそ、あんたなんかにはめられるなんて。このまま死んでしまえ。
She choked him in water with his necktie. As Aoko put her words into action and mercilessly strangled Tobimaru, he saw his life flash before his eyes.
いや、待て待て、本当に死んじまうだろうが。今ならまだ間に合う。10分過ぎたら遅刻から欠席扱いだぞ。
Aoko glanced up at the clock. It was still seven minutes past 1. Her route was from the student council room to the second floor on class A classroom on the third floor. If she ran, she could make it.
命拾ったわね、飛び丸。
She clicked her tongue disappointedly. What disturbed Tobimaru was that it didn't sound like an empty threat.
あと放課後、ここにいて。頼みたいことがあるのは本当なんだから。
She was halfway out the room before she finished her sentence. Finally, all alone, Tobimaru closed the open door, locked it, and slumped into a chair.
たく。ああしてる分には楽しいやつなんだけどよ。青崎は。
He leaned back in a creaky folding chair and let out a sigh. The weather outside was beautiful, but the sunlight waned early in the winter. Before long, daylight would fade, and the unheated student council room would grow colder and colder. All the good equipment, like the heater, had ended up in the main office, so he had no choice but to settle in for a chilly afternoon.
こんな天気が続けばいいんだがね。天気予報じゃ、また雲行き怪しいって話だが。
After someone suggested monologue, Tobimaru's mind drifted. He only wondered to himself whether Sojiro was an overcast day or a clear day sort of guy. But no answers came. The school day over, Sojiro headed straight to his job. while the school had approved his jobs at the Chinese restaurant and the fish market in Misaki's shopping district, there was another work he hadn't mentioned to them. It's not because he knew they would complain at him working too. It's not because he knew they would complain at him working too many, but rather because the illicit nature of one job in particular. Illicit. Today, his workplace was a pachinko parlor in front of Yashiroji Station. Sojiro changed out of his school uniform and into a black fox tuxedo uniform and began clearing the school front. Pachinko parlor. Yashiroji was the jewel of Misaki City, a busy place where a vast assortment of commercial centers and shopping arcades, where there were people en masse, where products were made en masse. Romantic may describe it as a place of joy. A realist would note the free enterprise, and a cynic would point out all the garbage. Local authorities had attempted to beautify Yashirogi, but there was one basic tenet of society that they could not overcome. This establishment was the embodiment of that rule. Business such as attracted the dregs of society. As such, the front of the parlor had to be cleaned several times a day. Sojiro stood outside in the winter cold, sweeping up used-up cigarette butts, picking up discarded filters, and tossing empty cans into the garbage. Something about it must have reminded him of mountain life, because he cheerfully finished the job at ease. After making sure the storefront was acceptably clean, he returned to the inside of the parlor, where it was nice and warm. Blinding lights and deafening sounds, and the oppressive odor of tobacco assaulted him as he passed through the parlor on the way to the office.
店長、外回りの掃除終わりました。
We don't get to see him in tuxedo.
はい、ご苦労様。それでいいかな。2階の40番台のお客さんの様子見てきてくれない？どうも懐に飲んでそうなんだよね。
His boss was a good-natured man who used to work at a desk job. The reason he employed someone like Sojiro, even though he was clearly a student, was not because he admired him for working his way through school. It was because all the other employees were scary and intimidating, and he wanted at least one employee who wasn't.
トイレの掃除まだですけど。
いいのいいの。なんかね、カメラの死角にいるんでいまいち確証取れないの。そうちゃん、今のところ的中率 100% でしょ。様子見てきてくれないかな。
Upon hearing that, Sojiro put away his cleaning equipment and headed for upstairs. It was a typical large-scale pachinko parlor with 2 floors. It prided itself on local establishment that was satisfied with taking locals' money little by little, without resorting to more exploitative means. Regardless of the parlor's intentions, its customers were not so scrupulous. Among them were casual players, professional gamblers, and cheaters looking to profit by exploiting whatever loopholes they could find. Of particular prevalence was a device developed in the mid-80s that could disrupt the machine's circuitry from the outside and make it easier to get what was called a 777 jackpot. As much as the parlor wanted to deny the cheaters entry, it needed to present hard evidence of cheating or risk losing customers. Particularly in the service industry, innocent until proven guilty was not taken lightly. As a result, they could only punish the customers that were caught in the act. Such cheaters were known as gotoshi, a slice of society which Sojiro knew nothing about. What he knew was that they were inconveniencing his employer and violated the rules. He went upstairs. The radio and game machine sounds on the second floor were quieter than the cacophony downstairs. There are 100 game machines on the ground floor, and over 80 on the second. While there are empty seats here and there, it was a solid evening turnout. The machine mentioned by his boss was in the center of the aisle. Okay, good. Sojiro nonchalantly leaned against the wall and watched the customer hit jackpot after jackpot again. Oh? The second he saw her, his gut instinct told him that she was not cheating. He still was not sure what made someone a master swindler, but if it meant they were special, this woman certainly fit that description. It was almost as if she could feel the luck emanating from her. As the customer looked on, she simply turned the handle again and again. She appeared older than Sojiro. She wore a green form-fitting one-piece dress. A pair of stockings covered her legs. Her slender legs gracefully crossed. Her elegance suited a painting better than a casino. Suited a painting better than a casino. I got it right. Her dark reddish hair was cut short in a bob, perfectly framing her stylish spectacles and crimson lips. Truth be told, something was off about this picturesque beauty, ringing the jackpot again and again. 4 boxes of pachinko balls sat at her feet, her winning streak showing no sign of abating. She looked bored as her slender porcelain finger lifted a long cigarette to her lips. On a jump. Just as a thought crossed his mind, her gaze turned toward the wall and Sojiro. Whoa. Suddenly a chill ran down his spine. He reflexively covered his mouth to keep from shrinking. Kinona. Acting on pure instinct, Sojiro took off running. He headed straight downstairs despite not being on the same floor as her. He could have run straight out the door, but for his obligations to his job. He tried to keep his composure as he spoke, jamming his school uniform into a paper bag as he ran out of the parlor. Cold weather brought the cold shadow of night over Yashirogi as he ran through the shopping arcade towards the station. He shut up the long staircase like an arrow and quickly pulled his train pass from his wallet, passing through the ticket gate. The ticket gate was covered with people sitting around, walking and talking. The station attendant by the automatic ticket machine had an unpleasant look on his face. There was now a familiar, comforting hustle and bustle around him. Just another day in the city. Nothing like what he witnessed the night before. He could finally breathe again. The momentary rush of relief brought him to an abrupt stop. He nervously turned around. There was no danger. There was no way that dangerous individual could be behind him. He couldn't think of a good reason why he fled so desperately. As far as he can remember, he'd never even seen the threat's face long enough to form an opinion about her. Sojiro gave himself a good slap in the cheek to pull himself together, and quickly made his way down the platform. Unfortunately, the next train was 10 minutes away, and panicking would give him no favors. Oh wait, the next train was 10 minutes away. He found himself in an empty seat and sat down. He took another deep breath. He was surrounded by people waiting for the train, just like he was, and no sign of anyone pursuing him. His head finally cleared up. He assured himself that he was overthinking things, though he was surprised by how heavy his shoulders felt. Sojiro sighed as his greater than expected fatigue. He suddenly struggled since coming down from the mountains, but in retrospect, it could have been worse. Physically, he was probably holding up fine. He was much less confident in his mental state. The city and the mountains could not have been more different. He would slowly recognize the differences and adapt. Assimilation was simple enough. Humans are nothing if not adaptable. Even without any effort, one could learn to adjust over time. Recognizing challenges had been the hard part. Sojiro grumbled a complaint he'd never uttered before. To be honest, he was still afraid of wandering around the town. There were many things city people took for granted that Sojiro had yet to grasp. It was a little wonder that this never-ending chain of surprises were on him. He muttered to himself, then shook his head. That which exists, exists. Such was the way of all things. Tobimaro called it a hallucination, but Sojiro knew what he saw was real. The city was a magical kingdom compared to the mountains. If there were real musicians secretly living here, That'd have been no surprise at all. That thought alone made his legs tremble. It took him a moment longer to realize that they were quivering out of fear. He feared the unnatural ever since he encountered a wild bear on a mountain path as a child.
いや、あれはこんなもんじゃなかったっけ。なりふり構わず泣き叫んだもんな、あの時は。
Sojiro smiled a little as he recalled his traumatic childhood memory. Anyone would have fainted at the sudden appearance of a growling beast that towered over 6 feet tall. The monster in the movie that Sojiro saw two days ago was equivalent to a cuddly stuffed animal when compared to a wild mountain creatures. He was reminded that he'd faced far worse before. His ordeal now something he could endure.
そうだよな。今の問題は、ちらっと聞こえた最後のセリフか。
At face value, the meaning was obvious, but the implications were simply too frightening to contemplate seriously. Perhaps he'd misheard the words, or perhaps the speaker had misspoken.
都会のルール。誰かがきっと罰しに来る。か。
Even as he said it, the idea didn't feel quite real. It was hard to imagine that it applied to him. Sojiro breathed in and closed his eyes. His vision dimmed, putting the illuminated cityscape out of sight and out of mind. For now, he resolved to put last night's events behind him. When he opened his eyes, his breathing had calmed.
それでさ、青崎を殴りつけようとして、結局どうなったんだ？
The question suddenly popped in Sojiro's head. He decided he would ask next time, and sit up from his chair. A long streak of light blazed by, announcing the arrival of the next train. Well, we finished chapter 2. Ooh, nice. Well, I guess that's it for this game for now. We'll save chapter 2 right over here. I want to do 1 chapter per stream, and it's been almost exactly 2 hours. It's not bad. Wait, let's check the archive. I'm curious. So, we have chapter 1.5, which we haven't read yet. We have chapter 2, which we just finished. And we did chapter 1 last stream. There's no chapter 2.5 apparently. Once again, I'll probably do chapter 1.5 off stream. But let's finish this up. I guess we can say goodbye to YouTube real quick. Let's do that. I'm gonna close the game. I'm gonna close the game for now. Either. Well, okay. We're gonna go ahead and say goodbye to YouTube. Okay. Oof. Ooh, I'm a little bit too loud. Yes. Come on. 3, 2, 1. Hey YouTube, I'm gonna go ahead and say the outro for now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whatever time it is in your place in the world, thanks for tuning in, and come by again. I know I was a little bit clumsy this stream, but I always needed a little bit of a warm-up, and this stream serves the warm-up purpose. Wait, have we had any dropped frames? 0% dropped frames, maybe. But why does it say 140 dropped frames? Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording for YouTube for now. See you later, YouTube. We're gonna do a bit of language practice now. Jenna.